my objective from yesterday, I started pondering what I wanted to do with that. I even had some issues when I was trying to save the processing file that I'm going to be just a blank sketch. I had some issues saving that because if I edit with a number and if I move the processing file to a different location within the processing tab, then it just messed up somehow. So I had to keep deleting, creating, deleting, creating, deleting, creating. That was all pinting up. So I'm glad that was done. But with genetic algorithm goal, what I find very interesting about that is that the genetic algorithm 20 questions game, the thing that I wanted to create yesterday, for the remainder of this week, today and yesterday, I thought I was going to have Wednesday. I was thinking like I have 3 days to do it. No, yesterday was one of those days. Today I have 2 days just to pretty much play around with genetic algorithms. I can even do I can even make a goal of learning 5 things specifically about genetic algorithms each day for the next week. But the ultimate goal that I wanted to create was a genetic algorithm with 20 questions. I may have to take that in a 2-week stride. I think that would be best for me if I take 2 weeks to try to create my own project, and instead of creating my own project, just spending 1 week to play around with something, and then the next week dive in, try to make it happen. I'd love to be where it's consistent, where do this one day, do this 1 week, and then you just alternate weeks. That may not work for me. What may work for me is to, and by the way, for anybody who is new, welcome. This entire channel is for me to figure out how to program, and programming is like karate or basketball. It is a channel for me to express myself in a very productive manner, to shape my mind, shape my emotions that I've very much needed as a kinesthetic learner. It's been very difficult to program or understand and learn how to program without doing this verbal communication out loud, using my body, thinking, and if I fail, then articulating my emotions as to why I failed, because I usually pent up a lot of stuff. So being able to vent and communicate as though you were right in front of me, being able to communicate as though you were here, which technically you are if you're watching, so watching through the screen rather than just watching me in person. But I think this process is an incredibly important point, long term, 3 to 5 years, 3 to 10. I'm not even just like 10 years. Like if I continue doing this every single day for 5 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, but I want to just do it with 5, and then continuously do it every single day for the rest of my life, I really think that's going to be doing magnificent things to me as a therapeutic activity. Just like if a troubled teen who goes into karate or goes into basketball goes into a sport and then starts directing their energy and efforts in that direction. So, with that being said, what I want to do, what I was thinking about having like this 1 week, just explore, and then the next week have a very set project that I do from Monday through Friday. I think what would work best for me, if I understand how I have been doing things for the past years and decades in my life, is that I tend to shift and change things quite often. I want to have things as structured as possible, but those structures keep changing. I know that that's the consistency of, if you want to really go into like, oh, why do I think that? I really do believe in astrology, and that's one of the reasons. Like, I look at my astrological chart, and I'm like, I can't refute that I am as close to this as possible. And I'm not just talking about the sun sign, I'm also talking about all of it. Like I have found myself that they correlate with me so much, and I understand why people would be turned off by just that one statement, but I have had so much evidence. I have told people's signs multiple times, near almost probably to the hundreds, but I would probably say close to 50. I've had close to every single person, 99%. I've only failed with like one person telling them exactly how they are with their astrological signs because they didn't know their birth date. So it's like I couldn't really do anything with you on that one, so they didn't believe me. And it's like, well, I need that information. Okay. But I know that I change my mind quite often. And I always try to rethink and reorganize how it's going to be. Aquarius, if you're anybody who's curious about that. It's a very relevant. It's in my okay. It's in a very important house, and I just I am that thing. There's no, I'm not going to explain it because it is personal, and I may explain it at some point down the line, but I keep changing and shifting it. One of these moments right now, it's like I wish I could just stop this entire video, because why am I posting this very vulnerable point online for people to see? Because it is important for me to express and work through a problem without hitting the restart button. I need to go through that process. Something that I didn't learn, something that I'm learning now. Best time to do anything is now, so I'm needing to learn it now. It's one of those things that I'm like taken back. Wow. I know that I have changed things at such a great degree. The fundamentals and principles, the structures that any one person abides by, I shift those things quite often. I shift quite often, changing to find a unique way of doing things. And when I want to do if like I have this idea that I want to put in place of 1 week just explore, and then the second week actually creating a project, and then the next week exploring, that idea sounds great. But then once I have gone through 1 week or a few days of exploring, and then next week going through a whole week of creating an actual project, the next week after that I'm gonna feel differently that next week, which might change how I can even approach it, because again, do what you're passionate about and follow through. You follow through. There's no like one way of doing it. You got to be able to understand that you got to follow through on whatever you put into place. You also have to have the wisdom to know when to change. Know when to change, know when to not change. It's the wisdom to change and the wisdom to not change. Change is a consistent. So I guess that's the way that I would put it. So I want to, instead of genetic algorithm 20 questions, I would kind of love to make that. The reason I'm kind of like hesitant about it is I don't want to do my own thing beyond the point of my skill. I need to get some experience under my belt. I need to get something that I can make as a project right here, right now. The best way that I can do that, is to do a project that is very consistent, it's like the hello world when it comes to programming. It is so overused, it's hard not to find a project not done using it. Which means that there's so many reference tools that when we do what other people are doing, all we have to all for us to be different, or for me, my value of needing to find something new and different, trying to make my own way, I need to use what other people are doing right now, and then just tweak it a little bit, and then just tweak it a little bit. And then if I get too far and I don't know what to do with it, I always have a reference point of where to go back to, pretty much like how GitHub works. Having like little branches of this is where the code goes, this is where the code goes, this is where the code goes, when you're manipulating the original code, original program. And what I want to do is, with genetic algorithm, I don't know if like a number or a guessing game would be something, but I need to do something simpler. Goal, on Monday, pick a project that is as common as Hello World with genetic algorithms, because I want to, it would help me greatly to do that. So, in the description is learn more about genetic algorithms and how to create myself for functioning projects, simply exploring and testing as much as possible for today. The goal would be to, for this week, I actually separated the projects that I had, so I need to realign what I'm thinking. So my goal, to explore as much as possible with genetic algorithms. explore as much. Like, what can I get myself familiar with? I'd love to just learn upright, but it's the repetition that really locks it inside of me. That's, again, I understand a little bit more about my learning process. I need to explore, be familiar with it, and when I come back to it, then I can readjust. It's like you have this blank canvas, and then you don't know where, or at least for myself, is that I don't know where something is. Well, if I put a dot on there, now I have a reference point of where to put things. So if I put another dot here, maybe I now need to change that dot's location. And then that dot's location changes this dot's location, and then now I have a more set dot. Now I've created a more set line connecting the two. Rather than a diagonal, I've actually moved it to the left, up, and I've shifted it from a diagonal to a straight line. Boom. Now I can start creating it from there. I have a base point and then moving it on from there. It's just getting it out there. Start testing. Get it going. So learn more about genetic algorithms so the goal is to explore as much as possible, and the description is genetic algorithms, and then the description is to learn more about genetic algorithms and how to create them myself for functioning projects. Simply exploring and testing as much as possible for the next 2 days. So the date today is the 27th, and then the due date, end, start would be 2019, June 27th, and then I'm going to put end. Oh, there we go. So next week, create my own number guessing game. I think that would be too much, but next week, Monday through Friday, I think it would be a lot to do learning 5 things every single one of those days, but Monday through Friday, each day, learn and apply the information of 5 different concepts, ideas, or practices within genetic algorithms specifically. This is really good, actually having a session for goal setting. Spending the time now to set the next few days is going to align the actions that I take in the next few days. Even now, tomorrow, and even on a day that I'm not going to be specifically doing this, I might make Saturdays dedicated to doing programming if I have a little bit more structure. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be every single Saturday at a set time. Maybe I need to change how I'm doing it. I know that I always need to shift that change, but if I can be very aware of it, I can do something with it. So if I'm able to verbalize, vocalize, articulate that thing, whatever it is, I can deal with it. If I can't, if it's not there, if I don't know what's going on, if I'm not able to understand how to do a genetic algorithm, then I'm not able to do anything at a greater level. If I don't know how to use a vector within processing, I don't know how to do a lot of stuff. So the more that I'm actually able to do on the basic level, which again, everybody knows intellectually or at least an intuitive level, for me kinesthetically, I needed to lock in at some place somehow to get myself to understand that. And right now, it's like, well, all this information that I have in my head, I'm able to use my body to anchor it within the neurological system that I have. Bam. That's so good. That's really good. Okay. Next week, that's what I'm going to be doing next week. But for today, what I want to do is explore as much as possible with genetic algorithms. If I fail, if I don't get what I want, today the expectation is to explore. If I can explore, how much did I explore? And that's a good thing. I usually keep myself kind of withdrawn and not really wanting to explore, but if I go and, make myself known, this is what I'm going to be doing. So when I went to the Coding Train YouTube channel, I highly recommend that anybody who wants to understand processing, Java, or specifically just in general, that sentence does not work at all. In general, if you want to understand a little bit more about programming, I would highly recommend going and checking him out. When it comes to processing and Java, He is a phenomenal teacher, or P5 as well. He is a phenomenal teacher. He messes up. He's one of the people I look to. Like, I would love to be him in the future. It's a person with whom I'm going towards. I have my own way of doing things, but I want to learn more about how he does it, because he doesn't edit his videos just like professional YouTubers would do. It's not a, hey, gotcha, look at this, it looks shiny, and then moving over here. He goes from start to finish and fails along the process trying to figure out how to get to the end goal. That is amazing. I highly recommend his channel. Please go check him out. What I found from this guy is he's going to be explaining his website that he created, The Nature of Code. His name is Daniel Schiffman. Chapter 9, The Evolution of Code, Genetic Algorithms, ... What I find interesting is, again, the thing that clicked in the back of my head, and what I think hopefully one of the reasons that I would love people to come and see me, is that a new ideas, new innovations, or something like that. I don't know. But on the left-hand side, I don't know if you can see it or not, or if it's too fuzzy. It says on the left-hand side, welcome, acknowledgements, dedication, preface, introduction, and then 10 lists. These 10 I'm very curious about. It has vectors, forces, oscillation, particle systems, physics libraries, autonomous agents, cellular automatons, fractals, the evolution of code, neural networks. Oh, okay. No. What piqued my interest was the word vectors. What I was thinking before I actually read through it all, which, again, surprise, I didn't do it. I was thinking that maybe I could get one piece of information that's on the left-hand side and then find some project that I can do for like 10 lines of code. Find a way to make a vector myself, know how to use it in processing, and then maybe doing it a different way. Now that I've created this vector within processing, how can I do this in a different way? How can I expand upon it? It's not just doing it differently, it's maybe expanding upon it, which is by default different. Evolving, changing, etc. Yeah. Maybe I could even simplify the code if I get too expansive. Maybe there's a simpler way of doing whatever I just did. Maybe I can explore the project that I did a week or two ago. Maybe I did it yesterday. Maybe I did it an hour ago, and say, how can I reapproach this situation in a different way? Using other people, maybe bringing in other people who are definitely smarter than me to figure out how to use a vector within a how to create a very simple vector program that does a very particular and specific task. There's no one. If you put 10 programmers in a room, to accomplish a goal, you'll have 11 different programs to accomplish that goal. So there's no one way of doing it. There's always a different way of doing it. If you change one line of code, you can have the exact same code, but instead of having 10 lines, you could probably make it 8 by just putting a few of those lines of code on a singular line. So if it's do this, do this, do this, you don't have to make them go vertically. You can make them go horizontally. You just have to have the correct syntax of a semicolon. So very simple things, very simple things. So what I want to do is I'm going to be skipping through this. It's just the introduction, evolution. There we go. I remember this. He's describing a brute force search. To be or not to be, if I remember this correctly, to summarize it, is to be or not to be, that is the question, is a phrase that he wants to type. If he was to use just a random generator to generate an L, an I, a K, E, L, I, H, O, O, D, etc., that entire, likelihood. Oh no, what I'm talking about. I was looking at the likelihood. T, O, space, B, E, space, etc., that entire phrase. I was looking at the wrong phrase, the wrong line. If he was to create a random generator to just go from left to right and create this exact sequence of letters and characters, that it would be this dramatic number right down here, 66 with 3 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 divided by 3, what? What? Oh, no, okay. 18. I didn't have my num lock on. So apparently 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000. A lot of millions. So if we were to do 18, which is a lot, divided by 6, a million times 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 a million, not plus a million, times a million times a million times a million times a million times a million, you'd get a whole heck of a lot of zeros. A whole heck of a lot of time would have to happen, and even if you got that question, you would have to take the time to look at each and every single one of those. What he's discussing is that his face looks weird. Didn't mean to do that. If we took the time to do that, the fortunate thing is that we know what the end point is. With a genetic algorithm, it is trying to find an unknown for the majority of other than brute force searches. A genetic algorithm is very useful when you're trying to figure out a number you are unknown of, that is not known to you. With a brute force search, we know what the end goal is. We just want to figure out how the best way to get to that thing, or the easiest, the quickest, the fastest, the most efficient algorithm to get to that point. We know what the end point is. We know all the paths. It's like doing the A-star algorithm. We're trying to find the fastest path to a point, like Google Maps does, or any other maps program does. Is that you have one point in one location and then another point in another location. You have all the streets available to you. You're just trying to figure out what the quickest path to that point is. You can shift it, you can modify it, and it's going to give you different outcome. But if you want to have the longest, if you want to have the safest, if you want to have the shortest, if you want to have the easiest, if you want to have the least amount of cops, all this information would need to be known. And again, brute search. This is the end point. I know what is going to happen. Now, how do we get there? What's the quickest way to get there? So that would be, in summary, what a brute force search is. And man, I forgot how much information I remembered. how much information is stored in here. It's just to execute it, to make it, to communicate it is actually what locks it in with me. So that's fascinating. That really is fascinating. I would highly recommend for anybody who has any single particular thing that they want to learn or do to actually go out there and just explore it and teach it as you go. If you fail, good. If you succeed, great. But if you fail, good. Use that to find a better way to succeed, or find a way to succeed. And once you have succeeded, is there a better way to succeed? Is there an easier way? Is there a more efficient? Is there a more effective? Is there a more successful way of doing it exactly how you've been getting the exact same result? Maybe there's a better result that you could go toward. What is something that you could go towards that is a little bit better? And again, this is exactly what I enjoy doing. This is phenomenal for me, because even though I may be progressing at such a minor rate compared to even Daniel Schiffman, because he is right now here he is. Oh, he's already done with it. Okay. He was doing this about 3 hours ago, a little bit more than 3 hours. But Coding Train Live, he does this every single day. He is at the point of doing so much information that I have no idea what's going on. This is absolute foreign and alien to me. I might even get overwhelmed with getting to this level. But I don't have to get overwhelmed, because I don't have to get overwhelmed. What a freaking belief system that is. What an amazing belief system that is. I don't have to get overwhelmed. If I am getting overwhelmed, I don't have to be overwhelmed. Because if I don't have to be overwhelmed, and there's a way to not be overwhelmed, there's a way to just be whelmed. There's a way to actually do something. So, what do I know? On the left-hand side, he's probably looking at a different... He's not in processing. Boom! I have now changed the entire context of what I'm seeing, because it's not exactly the same code that I've been familiarizing myself with for the last month, or so, probably month. That the star is actually the hashtag, or the pound sign hashtag, or the backward slash, and then making a comment. This is probably Java. Okay, so this is information I am not aware of, but I can probably simplify it. Public, I don't know what public or private. I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed. I don't have to get overwhelmed, but it's not good to stay overwhelmed. It's not good to just, okay, I'm getting overwhelmed, I'm going to ignore it and move on with my life. If you're, okay, next time, for me, this is something that I need to accomplish at some point in my life. It really is. But maybe not Java specifically, but maybe more complicated code like that. Hopefully more complicated code, not just if. Hopefully I get to more complicated, not complicated, more exact code. And I would say it's more complicated for somebody who is not aware of how to do it. So I hope I get more complicated. Not making complicated systems, but becoming more knowledgeable of how to use code in a simple manner. So yeah, it's not complication. I want to make very certain that the code, that what I am using in here, the words that I want to use is not complicated. I don't want to complicate anything. I tend to complicate things, but that's me exploring. How about this? How about that? How about this? How about that? There's a simpler way of doing it, and that is a great skill to develop. Is that if someone is creating a code specifically, the simplest way to use the code, the simplest way to use the language. I could describe a table as in a flat piece of wood with a 3-foot by 5-foot by 1-inch piece of wood. And then that's just the one piece, and then going through each of the bars that are connected to the wood, and then each of the legs that are connected to that bar, and then each of the pegs that are attached to each of those legs. And that's a lot of descriptions that could be in the program, but if I simply say a brown elongated table, a brown elongated wooden table, that sums it up much easier. Using the language more precisely can work, but there may be an easier way of using the code rather than using a lot of lines. You might be able to simplify all those lines into just a few words that are assumed by the system. Now, the higher level languages, you can get away with that, but lower level languages, you have to go by each of those the redundancy of this is what needs to be here, 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 here. I love higher level languages because I just want to get something done. I want to have, it doesn't have to be pitch perfect, it just has to get done. So with the brute force search, again, I enjoy this. This is phenomenal for me, and I hope this is phenomenal for you. I hope this is enjoyable, entertaining. Either way, please post your comments, questions, concerns right down below, because I do want to hear back from you, and it really does help the YouTube algorithm search if there's comments being made. Regardless of the comment, I guess. So the new sketch, he's going print line. So what he's doing right here is he is showing us the easiest and quickest method to obtaining the goal, to be or to not to be. That is the question. What is the quickest method of obtaining that? Which is the whole point of programming. Is we need to get this done. We don't need to write 100 million lines of code. We can get it done within 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, or maybe even 1,000 lines of code. We don't have to have 1,000,000. Can we simplify what we have to what can we get from what we have to a simpler point? So what I'm going to do here is quickest question. What am I doing? Quickest method to print hello train, hello mother, hello father, or not to be. That is the question. Now the quickest method to print this phrase, 3, there we go. So the quickest way to do that would just be to print. Why not print line? Why is it print and what's the difference between print and print line? I am not a fan of that train, but I am glad that I'm working out something while the train in the background is happening, because that train happens every single day, 5 times a day, so. I'm probably exaggerating, it's probably exactly 3, maybe 4. It's at least 2. It's at least 2. Once in the morning, once in the evening, and then once or twice in addition to that. So, I want to know what the difference between print and print line is. Again, explore. It's very simple, but go and explore. So I'm going to put the word, there we go, there we go, print. And in this one, I'm going to do print line. So I know which one's which. Save and play. What's going on here? Whoa. What? Can I not do that? Save, play. Oh, I thought I did that before. I thought I was able to use print. Let me go into processing and figure out what print is. Oh, is that printing something out? No, that's text or draw. Okay. So doing this together, print string s, all this. Let's copy and paste. Let's just get the code because I don't want to just read it. If I can see it in action, then I can work with it a lot better. So I'm going to just comment this and this one out, save and play. Okay, so at the very bottom left-hand corner is the size is 1920 by 1080. 1920 by 1080. And it's simply printing the size of, oh, it's not. Huh. Okay, let's do it this way. I'm gonna do void setup. Setup. And I'm going to draw, void draw, because it doesn't make it. It's not the same here. I know it's trying to be quirky or whatever, but nope, it's not working for me. So I'm initializing all the variables outside of the setup function. Within the setup function, I'm going to do background or size of the canvas. The size is going to be W by H. And then what I'm going to do is cut, and in the draw section, I don't want to continuously do it. I just want to do it once. So I am also going to put down here print a statement. So why is it S? I don't get that part. So print S. What is S? S is the size of, and then print this new thing. Why don't I just do O? That's what I want to do. I want to print S. Yeah, why is it in 2 lines of code? You could just do it in 1. You could do all this in 1 line of code. There's no reason to have 2 print statements at all. S is string. So I'm going to do string plus W, or not plus W, S, W, size is blank, X, putting a space there, and then save and play. Fix the size. What? The size line? So do I have to... The size of the sketch cannot be determined from your code. Use only numbers, not variables for the size. Oh. Okay. That sucks. That's not what I wanted. So my question is, if I can only use that, can I... Okay. 1920 by 1080. Save and play. Wow. Okay, well now I know the size of my screen. Enjoy java.exe without any interruptions. Thank you, system. I highly recommend anybody out there to go and use Avast. Avast is absolutely amazing for it has pretty much everything. It's amazing. I don't know what it goes behind the screen, but it does VPN, password protect, Software protect. I'm not talking about the softwares that you download. I am literally talking about the operating system. It saves, it cures, it does something with the operating system. I've done it a few times. My system has had a few issues, and I downloaded Avast and it cured it. It cured my operating system. That was amazing. I highly recommend it, at least to go and just test it out, see how you like it. It's probably not for everybody. Freedome is what I used to use for my VPN, but I just switched to Avast because I'm using it for other things, and it's kind of just a bundle. So if you do this, we'll save money. If you do this, you save a little bit of money. Save this, you use this, you save a little bit of money. Which I'm going to use all of them individually, so why use 3 different companies when I'm going to just use one? Okay. So this is just a way of doing it. I don't want this to be 1920. I'm going to make this 750 and then a 500. And the reason I'm doing it that way is just for me to note the canvas, what the size is 1920 by 1080. The reason is that was incorrect for me, so I needed to do it this way. So I'm just going to do 500, and both W and X. I'm going to do X. Why am I doing W? I don't know, that's why. Okay. Because the X and the Y is a point, while the W is width and H is height. Got it. So saving and play. Boom. The size is 750 by 500. That's good to know. Wait, does the comma give it a space? Huh. Cool. If it is, it's cool. Yeah, looks like it. Save, play. Yeah. And then what I want to do after this one is save and play. Okay, now that we have... What? Oh, I don't want it to give it a space. I want to give it a no space. So using a comma automatically gives it a space in between the values of the variables or whatever's put there. But a plus sign squishes it all together, that within this section, do all this, and then comma, space. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so my question is, what is print and what is print line? See, print... Oh, does print only work within a setup or draw function? And then print line I can do outside of any function. Does print only work when in a function, and print line works outside of any function? Can I use print line within a function? Copy, paste, save, play. Yes, I think that is true. So if I click copy and paste, save, play, print, what's going on here? What is going on here? I might be way off. Oh, because I'm using a single apostrophe. I'm using an apostrophe rather than quotation marks. So if I use print, I think that was the main issue. Again, very simple things. Very simple problems. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to do print line. Does print line do a new line of code, while print is just adding to whatever the last thing was? So again, different commands, different functions. So print line, and then we're going to add, instead of an apostrophe, we're going to use quotation marks. Save and play. Boom. Nope, that's wrong. Okay, so my question would be, how can I do a different... Yeah. Okay. So if it was just a quotation issue, then what I need... So can I print it outside of a function? Save and play. No. Because active and static modes. So print might be an active, while print line might be static. So I'm going to remove this and put up this. Save. No, it needs the quotations. Save and play. Why? That's the exact same code that he's been running. That's the exact same code. Print line. Is it not? Print line.
Look at that. I have now just...
Okay, I'm muting him because I don't really need to hear him. And then at the very bottom, right here, It has his code that he printed in the console. I guess it is the console. I don't know which one's which. But to be or not to be, that is the question. What's going on with my line of code? What is wrong with what I've created? Okay, so what if I do this? I comment this entire section out. So I'm going to save and play. There we go. Now it worked. So I don't know why that was doing whatever it was doing. Maybe print line, if I have any variables below it, I can't do it that way. So let me just try it this way, because I know that print works, but that's also because I'm using other functions. So I'm now going to push play. I saved and then play. Stop. I don't need that anymore. Now let me put print. Does print work when there is no function? It does. It does work. That is weird, but I am okay with that. So again, very simple thing that if so the goal of this entire thing, I'm going to wipe it all clean. That was a lot of work, that was a lot of effort, but it's not important to just go, it's important to move on. So I didn't need that quote. I know that there is a reference for that code specifically, and it's not even relevant to the goal that I had at the beginning of this, even though I emotionally was kind of tethered and tied to that one project. I feel like, I don't want to get rid of it. You know what? But I did explore it a little bit, so I know how to just shift and change a few points to get something specific. So again, I have the print, I have the reference book on processing.org. I have it available to me if I need that code specifically. Knowing where to get my references is more important than how to create the entire thing, because if you can, the reason being that I at least believe that, and I think that from picking it up from other programmers who are much better than I, much better positioned, who are better teachers than I at the moment, is that you need to know how to reference things. You need to go to GitHub and being able to pull code that is already being created. Because if you are spending time and time and time and time and time again to create your own wheel, it's best to start with a design that already exists. You need not invent your own wheel. You need not reinvent the wheel. It's already existent. All you have to do is take the plans and manipulate it just a little bit. That's a little bit unique. Boom, it's now yours. So again, the goal is the quickest method to print to be or not to be. That is the question. I don't know if there's a comma or anything, but that's what I'm going to be printing. So I'm going to use print line, semicolon with quotation marks, and I don't need to type it all out, which I think is really good for memorization and the know-how. If there is a code you don't know how to do, just typing it all out like this, and this, familiarizing yourself to getting familiar with which key you're going to be pressing on the keyboard. But I already have this phrase right here. I know that I've taken a lot longer than I needed to describe the thing, like saying, hey, ASAP. What does ASAP stand for? As soon as possible. Wow, that's great. Thank you very much for describing it in that way, so you've saved a lot of time. By saying that, you didn't save any time at all. But I'm just communicating what's going on in the inside of me, trying to be as clear as possible and precise of what's going on here and here. Just because I'm articulating it logically doesn't mean that I can't feel. And if I ignore those feelings of anything, like, well, I'm frustrated. No, don't be frustrated. Just think it. No, it's okay to be frustrated. Work out the emotional part, because that's something that I've needed to do. Be frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated. And then how do I accomplish it? That's the goal. It's not to be emotionless. It's actually to use your emotion in the best way possible. So copy and paste. I already have the information there. There's no need to type it. Play. Bam. At the bottom left-hand corner, to be or not to be, period. That is the question. Period. I have now, which takes literally 20, 30 seconds, not my time, probably time of everyone else out there, the quickest method to print that phrase, print line, that phrase, semicolon. That's it. That's as quick, that's as easy, that's as simple it needs to be to find the quickest method to print that. But it's not the goal that I have, period. It's not the goal that I have. My goal is to figure out and understand a little bit more about genetic algorithms, and maybe talking about it at great length that is actually painstakingly in great detail, more in repetition and detail, more than any single one person needs to ever explore this one topic of brute force before we even get to using the brute force method in the genetic algorithm. I think it's incredibly important for me, and I think I'm justifying the actions that I've taken rather than justifying what is smart, is that I think it's really cool to being able to explain something at painstakingly great detail, and then moving on and almost never talking about it, or talking about it every once in a while with a reference point that goes back to those points that I have made a very strong neurological association of talking about this at great length, that the next time that I come back to this topic, I have this entire emotional, neurological connection with that. It's like somebody who, again, you touch a hot stove, immediately your nervous system says, no, do not touch this thing anymore. If you have a conversation with somebody, it can go on for 10 minutes or 10 hours, and depending on how you feel about that person, how that conversation went, you're going to have an associated feeling when you come back to that topic, and you're going to have images and pictures and sounds and symbols and noises and smells that are going to and feelings that are going to flow through your mind, whether you know of it consciously or not, that because of your association with this thing that you've conditioned yourself to every single moment of every single day is and will be forever a condition that you're associating to. Whether that's good or bad, it's just that you're always being conditioned one way or another. You may or may not like, and I'm only going to bring this up once, you may or may not like politics. A phrase that I didn't really respect until now. I respected it, but I didn't really emotionally get it at this level. Or maybe I'm just rehashing a different feeling, but I was connected to it. You may not do politics. You may not be involved with politics, but politics is going to involve you. You may not want politics to happen in a certain way. And again, it's not saying any particular political statement in any direction. It's just saying that you may not want politics to happen, but politics is going to happen whether with or without you. Same thing with time. You may not want time to pass. You may not want time to move fast or slow. Time is going to move at that speed that time moves. So it's whether you can want something to happen, but something's going to happen with or without you. Same thing with whatever I just said. What am I saying? What did I just say it for? I guess so if I remember, because I just went on a rabbit trail, it's like, what was the connection with all of it? So I made all these branches outwards. Now I need to create some structure to tether it, bend it, shape it, or even bringing it back is every single activity you do conditions yourself. So what I just did here I was painstakingly detailing every single action I was doing to describe the brute force method in a simple manner. And I did it over and repeated myself in numerous ways, something that I want to do in other videos. That I have this one topic that I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to understand, and I'm able to explain it here, and all these points are able to connect and making this beautiful masterpiece. Each individual piece, people are like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? Oh, and you start to get it more and more and more because there's more references, there's more exposure to it, there's more times and notions that you're able to do it. So again, I would highly recommend it to go out there and condition yourself over and over and over and over and over again on the things that you want. There are going to be things that you don't want. You need to be able to condition yourself to deal with it. Even if it's like, okay, whatever, and then you move on. You got to be able to handle that situation. And I highly recommend conditioning yourself, not to just be exposed to something, but how are you going to be dealing with it? Sometimes you don't have to listen to something. There's a video on YouTube, you don't have to listen to it. But if it's a video that consistently pops up, you might need to at least expose yourself to it and be like, wow, what are the reasons why I don't like this video? I don't like criticism videos I love them every once in a while, but I've kind of, there's a lot of, I don't like them because of how, I know this is going to be I don't know which way you want to go with this one. It's very negative. I love pointing out flaws within something, but if you have 15 videos of destroying something or trying to critique something specifically, and then you say, oh, well, no, I love making positive videos. Well, then make positive videos. No, I can't. You can't focus on any other film. You can't focus on any other idea. There's no other ideas, topics, discussions, or things you could be doing other than this one thing that pisses you off. That seems like you have a problem, bruh. It's like, you can do that, but I just don't think that you're honest with yourself. And that's, again, one thing that if I was to project onto somebody, that I might be wrong on that. It's like, don't project. That's something that I need to not stop doing, but limit myself. Before I do it to somebody else, I need to be exposing myself to doing it first. Saying you're doing something wrong or you're lying to yourself, I don't want somebody to say that to me. I don't want somebody to say that to me. I want somebody to show me what I am wrong with. I don't want somebody to just say that I'm wrong. So I didn't expect myself to go down this rabbit hole. But if I understand it a little bit correctly, and I'll talk a little bit more about the critique thing, I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to get to the end of the brute force method before he starts doing it in genetic algorithm-wise rather than just using a print line. If you are criticizing a video over and over and over and over again, the last 15 videos you have made were to criticize something in and I would say a negative. Negative can be a good thing. You can be negative towards something and objectively see it in a bad light, or objectively see the bad that's within the light. You shine a light on something, and then we get to see the bad stuff. It's not saying, oh, you have a bad light on whatever it is. No, there could be somebody could have a bone sticking out of their body, and if somebody was to look at it and say, oh, there's a bone sticking out of you, and someone else said, well, don't be so negative. No, there's a bone sticking out. It's important to point out those flaws, but it's also important to, I guess I'm questioning, where is the line between here's a light that's shining on something, and then there is something bad here, versus I have a light on something, and even if it's not that bad, it's not that bad. Or it's not even bad at all. It's probably even good, one might say, with this one section. But because of the lens that I've been looking at the last few scenes or frames within a movie, then I look at this one with the same frame of mind of it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie. Here's a really good point, but because I keep looking at all these bad points, my lens at how I look at the world with the light, because we all have a lens at which we look at things, it's going to probably be negative or less than it actually is. So I guess that's one of the points of you need to be able to understand objectively what's wrong, but you also need to understand what the good stuff is. And we don't all get it correct. We're all just trying to figure it out. I would say that would probably be the best way for anybody whom you disagree with on anything. Again, movie critics, politics, whatever. It's just we're all trying to figure it out. The majority of people care. The majority of people care. 99.9% of people care, but just because you care doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. I might care not to hit my wife. I don't know. I was trying to go there because it was I know it was a negative thing, but you went there quickly. If I know that you should not hit your woman, and then I go back to my home and then I berate my wife with horrible words, like I just like that I know what wrong is, but my actions are doing the wrong thing. So somebody might know that eating 50 pounds of food every single day is not healthy, but they do it because of certain things that are ingrained in our nervous system, of that if I don't eat this amount, then I'm going to feel pain. I need to put on weight so I can feel protected within this world. I need to feel like I feel vulnerable, and I need to feed into that, quite literally. And again, you can justify yourself into an early grave. Logic in of itself is not a moral good. Feelings for the sake of feelings is not a moral good. So just because you feel a certain way does not mean it's a good thing that you're feeling that way. It might be something that you can run with, and then if you fail, okay, good. Now that we failed, where are we going from there? So I don't know. That was just a little bit of a rant for probably 10 minutes. That was a little bit divergent from what I was discussing. So let's get back to the topic at hand. Nope. Oh man. Nope. Nope. Yes. Okay. So with this, he's coming back to this. He's talking about how long it would take to figure out using the brute search method. Boxcar 2D. I remember this one. Oh, I remember it, but I forgot about it. Wait, how can I remember something but now, like, I forgot about it? Those two statements out loud, they sound weird. I know which feeling it's associated with, but I don't know how to describe that feeling. So boxcar2d.com. I think it's .com. It is .com. So I'm going to do is design a car. Oh, I need to get Adobe Flash. Was blocked on this page? Oh, okay. Allow. There we go. So if I refresh the page, now I just have to click on it and then it'll allow running it. So good. Okay, so this is what we have. Boxcar 2D. What we have here is a very messed up car. If I put in random, where's random? Designer. So it keeps refreshing the page. We have wheels, axles. Where is it? Axles, wheel radii, how big the wheels are, the size and shape of the wheel itself. If I do this, I don't know. Let's go to home. Oh, home is what it is. Okay. What's happening right here is a genetic algorithm, not a brute force algorithm. I would say brute force algorithm is a genetic algorithm, but I would say a true algorithm that we do not know what the result is at the end. We just know one particular topic. If I remember correctly, is that the bottom left-hand corner, even though this car is reprehensible to any level, the score at the bottom is 77.2. That is the most effective car that has been played out. This one might go, nope, it stopped. Is that there's a certain design, that one, if you took away the bottom, might have gone further. That one's a little bit better. It's looking that the first car that we created, if I'm trying to do this in real time, the first car that we created was had either 0 or 1 wheel, and then it would test 1 or 2 wheels. After those 1 or 2 wheels would be tested, the furthest car that we got had 2 wheels, so now it's manipulating each car to have more often 2 wheels. So it's using the prior best performing, and then it is also manipulating and changing it, mutating it a little bit each and every single generation. At the top left-hand corner, each and every single generation, there's the second train, and then there's going to be 1 or 2 at the very end of the day. So there's just a lot of trains that happen near my home, near my apartment. But the small wheel, it didn't go far. So so on the left-hand side we have the car, and it goes 20 rounds, 0 being 1, and then 19 being 20. It's just starting with 0 rather than 1. We get 20 cars, and then the highest score is what is replicated or mutated for the next generation. So if we get another car that's above 77.2, if we get a car that's above 77.2, and if it has a tie with 77.2, then it's going to take the one with the least amount of time. Maybe having a time. The most important part about a genetic algorithm, if I understand it correctly, is that the score that we have, we can assign this score to anything that we want. We could do it with the score, and I'm just using with what we have right now. The score, the time, the torque, the amount of pieces that are used, how durable each of those cars are going a certain distance. relating to, see, now we're at 90, 100 other than 77. So this is the car that's most likely going to be just like it did. That was the car that we used, and here's the second car that we're using. It's probably going to go a little bit shy. So that one failed. So again, it's mutating and mutating. After probably 10 generations, we're going to have a more flushed out car that's going to be more effective. But this is a system that knows not how and what a car is supposed to look like and do. It's just acting and it's just reacting. A genetic algorithm is void of any and all thinking. It's just reactionary. So again, humans on one hand can be intelligent and manipulate the entire programming to create things like this. With genetic algorithm, it's random. It is completely random. It's reacting. So what we need to do is remove as much randomness as possible. Have some randomness, because sometimes maybe the route that we're going is not working. We need to have some mutation to shift us into a different direction. So some randomness is good. So every single generation is taking the most effective and highest scoring node, character, car, and then going to manipulate and changing that one specifically. I don't know. But what I want to do is... yeah, that's pretty much it. But that's something very important to know, is that I forgot this entire system worked this way. I forgot about the very basics about genetic algorithms. I knew it intellectually, but being able to explain it, being able to articulate it, and being able to define it. Because when I'm able to define it, here's 195. That's phenomenal. So if I just click on that one, copy current, copy best, and I'm going to go over here in the designer, home, resetting everything, input speed, paste. This is the entire. This is the car that was as. Oh, but that's a really good car. No. Cancel. That's actually a pretty good car. Dude, that's amazing. That was amazing. In 10 seconds, it achieved a score of 100 in 10 seconds. That's better than the one that I had. So again, randomness is an important factor. Randomness is an important factor where I try to make everything so fit narrowly and neat. So I had a lot of issues when I was creating my genetic algorithms, and I failed miserably when I was doing them because I didn't know how to specifically do them to the letter, to the T, and even effectively. I didn't even know how to do it. I was just copying and pasting like, hey, it worked. Why did it work? I don't know. And again, this process is so amazing for me. And we'll leave it right there. Please post your comments, questions, and concerns right down below. Thank you very much for being a part of this. Please post your comments, questions, and concerns right down below. I do want to make that in the right order. Let's see this one keep going and going and going. Oh, so freaking close. Okay. If you would, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button right down below. That would greatly help this channel out. And as you enjoy the rest of your day, I will see you next time.